Welcome to another edition of MSI Showcase. This is Diane Mulligan, president of Mulligan Speakers International. Today we're talking with Norm Laviolette and Chet of Improv Asylum. This is an improv comedy group that actually teaches innovation. Hi guys, how are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, we're the founders of Improv Asylum, which is a comedy theater based in Boston. We've been around for over 14 years. But in addition to the comedy we do, we have a 200-seat theater in Boston. We do 11 shows a week there, so we're doing shows Tuesday through Sunday night. But beyond that, we do a lot of traveling all around the country, both for corporate shows that we do, but also corporate training and keynote speeches around things like innovation, but also teamwork and communication skills.
Right. We've been working together for 16 years about now.
A lot of years.
A lot of years. It's like a. It is. It's very much like a married couple.
Mm-hmm. We finish each other's sentences sometimes. So.
Do you fight like a married couple?
No, we haven't better than married couples because we don't have to go home with each other.
Yeah.
This is a good thing. I think that's a very good thing. Well, today we're talking about innovation. And you know, I was just at the PCMA convention. Innovation was a real buzzword. I think it's very interesting because what I really learned was innovation means different things to different people. What does it mean to you guys?
I think for me anyway, innovation means truly coming up with something brand new, not just like a line extension or some smaller, different way of doing things, but something brand new that that people aren't expecting in many ways.
You know, for me, I think it's about being able to take a risk. In what we do in our line of work, improvisation, we're innovating all the time. And what that really means is we are risking ourselves all the time. We're always stepping out on stage with nothing planned, and we're going from there. And so for me, you can't innovate without taking a risk and without, flirting with failure to a certain degree.
Absolutely. And I think it's very interesting how you've taken the skills, the techniques of improv and really formed them into a training around innovation. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, what we do on stage is we get a suggestion from the audience. We have no idea where they're going to yell out. They yell something out. We create a comedic scene right then and there on the spot. So there's no prior talking about it or scripting. We literally just make it up as we go. And so we obviously do it for comedic effect, but how we're listening and building off each other right then and there in the moment is very applicable to how teams or individuals either do or don't do that well. And if you talk about innovation, and we end up creating a scene that the crowd laughs at, they think is really, really funny, but then if you then went back and said, whose idea was that? It really was no one actor's own sole idea, and probably what ends up is we basically create something that's bigger and better and funnier than if any one of us would have to go out there and do a monologue based on that suggestion.
Right. And I think the thing about it when you hear improvisation, which is like, well, that's fine, but you guys are naturally funny, or you can do this. And while there's something to that, we can teach anybody the skills of improvisation. I can't necessarily teach you to be a professional improvisational comedian, but if you want to try, you can come down to our theater and drop your life and move in, and we can give it a go. But what we can do is work with you on the skills that we use to access how we innovate very quickly on stage.
And can you give me a couple of those techniques that you teach when you're in a training?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, the most elementary way we can show it, I would say, is an exercise that we call Electric Company, where it's basically just creating a word. And that sounds very, very simple, but it's much easier said than done. And so the idea being, if I had an idea of a word in mind, I would just give out the beginning of that word, and Norm would listen to that and then fill in the back end. So I might say
cranium.
Okay, so we came up with the word cranium just then. But I might have had crayon in mind, and certainly my guess is, off the top of his head, cranium was not a word that Norm was just thinking of, right? But the very elementary idea is that by listening, by being able to have someone work off my idea, and Norm working off my idea and listening and building, we created an idea, metaphorically speaking, cranium, that might be bigger than what I had in mind or that Norm had in mind, rather than give me a word and now let's vote on which one's better. It's the idea that when we listen and work off each other, we can quickly build to an idea that neither of us had when we started that might just be bigger and better than either of us would have come up with on our own. So,
and what's happening there when we do something as simple as that is I'm listening, and it all starts with that. You can't create, or at least you can't create together, because that's what we do. We work as an ensemble. You can't create together if you don't listen. And then I listen, and then I know that I can throw my part out there. Just like that. And it's not going to be, well, that's stupid. Why would you say that? Or I was thinking of this. we know that it's going to be immediately accepted. So that's a very basic exercise, but that leads us into what's a far greater concept and what we work on in improvisation, which is this idea of yes and. And when we improvise, what that means is basically we're always going on stage, and whenever we're on stage with somebody, when somebody puts their idea out there, we say yes to it, and then we put our part onto it to build to something, as Chet was saying,
that's
bigger.
a key part of it, because we're not just saying yes, but on the flip side, we're not saying no, or here's the thing I want to do, but it's more we're saying yes, but then we're also adding to it. And when we do that back and forth, we very quickly create something that is very innovative. And even though, when we work with corporations, even if I'm the only one yes-anding, I may still be able to unlock ideas and opportunities, even if it's just with me rather than the team. But certainly it's a huge, powerful team thing as well.
That's excellent. I have one other question for you, because as a meeting planner, I'm wondering, you guys do comedy all the time. You're very funny. Maybe my audience isn't so funny. And so how do you work around that? And do you have a hesitation from people working with you because they're worried that they're going to have to try and be funny?
Well, first of all, they can leave the funny to us. So we provide a lot of that.
Because they're not as funny.
But we do incorporate humor into how we present it. But beyond that, we often encourage people to not even try to be funny. And we even say that up front, we're not teaching you to do comedy. We encourage people to not even try to be funny, because if you try and you're not, it's just awkward for everybody in the room. So there's really no pressure to be funny at all. And usually after the first exercise or example, that pressure goes right out the window, and people realize, all right, I'm not going to look stupid. I don't have to be funny off the top of my head. It's more teaching the skill set of what we do.
Yeah, and that's really what we're going for here, is we're not teaching comedy. We're teaching the skills of improvisation. Now, with that said, what you find is once we take that pressure off, the group is laughing and having a great time, because it's all just happening naturally in terms of how they're creating something new and innovative together. So that part does happen. It becomes very fun and very funny, but there is no pressure. We're teaching you the skills that we as creative people, as improvisers who have to create so quickly on the stage, we're teaching those skills to people to be able to move forward.
Guys, that's such an example of how we really use the entertainment and the skill building and put it together so that we have a great program for audiences. And I know meeting planners will really appreciate that. Thanks so much for talking with us today. And thanks so much to all of you who are watching. We hope you'll join us again for another edition of MSI Showcase. I'm Diane Mulligan with Mulligan Speakers International. Have a great one.